Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lily White Lounge, the latest podcast episode here on Lily White Lab. Very excited to get into this one today. I'm joined by our producer, Andrew,
Hi.
and one of our analysts slash thread writers, Sam.
Hello.
Kish is currently on holiday at the moment, but he'll be back next week. He's currently enjoying a break from Tottenham.
Ollie
Um,
too.
and And I would be jealous of him, but he missed the game last night. So we'll break that down further. We're just going to sort of do a general review of yesterday's game, maybe a quick look into Everton next fixture, and like a bit of a transfer roundup at the end of it. See how the youth players are getting on, analyze our signings so far, look ahead to the future a bit more. So let's get into the fixture. It was an odd one. It was a very poor first half, in my opinion. I think in everyone's opinion. I thought we looked a bit slow in the first half. We couldn't really keep up with their press. They went with a man-to-man press, and we couldn't really keep up with that. And we struggled to move the ball quick enough. And there were a lot of loose passes, a lot of loose touches, and we overall just seemed a bit overwhelmed. Um, and then the second half came, and obviously we had that good 20-minute spell and blew them away, really. Um, but Sam, what do you think? We'll start off with the first half, and then we'll get into it a bit later on. What were your general views of that first half and how we played?
Maybe in contrary to most people, I think we were okay. Well, okay, Ange mentioned we started well, and I agree. I think we got on the front foot quite quickly and pinned them in for a decent amount of time. But as you said, I think frustration quite quickly set in at how we couldn't quite enter the box the way we wanted to. And a couple of mistakes set in. Obviously, the Adogi mistake in the build up to their first goal. We'll get into with a bit more detail, but it's one of those, man. Brentford. It was a bit like the reverse fixture for me. The Brentford are so tough to play against. They're so compact. They're so good out possession, and the spaces just really weren't there, and the ball movement wasn't there to open up the spaces. And I don't think the movement off the ball was good enough either. I think we had Skip starting in the eight, and he has the movement for it, but does he have the final quality? Not for me. And I feel as if when Skip is making those underlapping runs or trying to support the winger, or if it's Porro's gone out wide, they're a bit hesitant to play off him because they just know he's not quite got the quality. So I think Ange made a good decision at halftime bringing him off, even though I thought he did well. In terms of cleaning up loose balls and keeping play ticking and stuff like that, he did well. But it's just we needed a bit more in the final third, and I thought the switch to move Kulu inside was good as well. Yeah, but overall, I wasn't too frustrated with the first half, to be honest. As much as it got a bit messy in the middle with how this whole stadium got riled up. There were just long periods of booing because everyone was annoyed at like Brentford's antics. But it's like I think we got rattled. But outside of those spells, we were generally okay and controlling the game. And I felt as soon as we get through this spell, we're gonna have them when we want them. Obviously, conceding wasn't ideal, but yeah, obviously we came out and blitzed them in the second half. So yeah, that's basically
Yeah,
my thoughts on the first half.
I think that's a really good point going into the second half. Is we just completely fell into their trap, and we were exactly where they wanted us. Um, they the breaks in the play were just messing with our heads too much, and they were taking a long time on throw-ins. They're taking a long time on free kicks, and they always do that. It wasn't time wasting because they take a long time to set up their set pieces and try and sort of throw off the opposition. And I think it did exactly that. And it was very evident that we just needed that team talk from Ange. and we came out in the second half looking refreshed, looking focused on the match and playing our football and playing the way we want to play. And that was something that was really missing in the first half. We were just overwhelmed, and as I said, we fell into their trap. And I think we came away from the philosophy of Ange, if you will, of just playing your football and continuing with that mindset and not letting anything else distract you and sort of having that tunnel vision of, okay, we're going to attack now, we're going to play out the back, we're going to be risky, we're going to be brave. And I think that we saw that switch straight away in the second half. And that was the key difference there. It was the mentality switch. Andrew, what did you think of specifically the quick changes after the second half and how we came out looking after that?
Yeah. That first half was very dull, very dull. I went at halftime feeling a little bit hopeless because what's his name? Potter on that left hand side was screwing up everything. He was making those runs and it was really impressive. And Spurs were just getting caught out of possession. I think um, I think Spurs were playing high, which they should. That's the Ange way. But Brentford had their tactics set to manipulate that. And the second half, Ange made the changes that needed to be made. I was a bit reluctant about Bentancur coming off because that seemed a bit weird. Bentancur off at halftime, he seems like an important player. Ange has talked about how crucial he is to the side. Clearly has a lot of plans for him. I'm not sure if it was tactical, or if it was more, if maybe something happened. I don't know, but I think most likely it was a tactical change. And Brennan came on, obviously changed the game, scored a beautiful goal, and Højbjerg just showed crazy composure in midfield. It was fantastic to watch. I love Højbjerg. I'm a big Højbjerg fan, which I know is controversial these days, but it's he's a leader. He's committed, and I think he was able to change. He was one of the big reasons that game changed because Skip, as much as I also love Skip, which I also know is controversial, I forgot he was playing until about 30 minutes in, and nobody was getting the ball was not going to him, and he wasn't able to make any impact. So the game changed quick. But even after those three goals, Brentford were still pushing, and
Yeah.
obviously with the Tony goal, and there could have been a few more. It was a stressful game, but I think Spurs pulled out. They Ange has magical words like he says in the dressing room or something. But overall, I think it was a stressful game, but a very interesting game, and a game that's a bit of a wake up call for Spurs in this final stretch of the season.
Yeah, 100%. I think the point you mentioned with the midfield, I think that really changed the game. I think swapping Kulusevski for Skip gives so much more ball retention, someone actually showing for the ball and has a bit of creativity. And I actually thought Bentancur was quite poor in the first half. I thought that he tried to force play a lot. I wouldn't have thought to bring him off, um, but I thought he forced play a lot. He made a lot of loose passes, especially in the final third when we were sort of they were packed in their box and sort of sitting back in a deep block, and we were trying to penetrate it, and he wasn't being patient enough. He just kept trying to force it a lot of the time to Kulusevski, and it just wasn't working. And I think he got really overwhelmed. And Højbjerg, as you said, he brought that composure, kept play ticking. He did. I don't know if you can hear my dog, by the way. He's gone absolutely mad.
No.
Um, he kept play ticking, and he just gave us that all round control in midfield. He does always have one rash mistake in him, and he did have a bit of an error, but I think overall what he brought to the game was really important for us and exactly what we needed, and it stopped us from getting overwhelmed too much. And I think it brought out. I think it gave the platform for Madison and Kulusevski, and that's what I wanted to ask you about, Sam. What did you think of Madison's performance on his first game back, first full game?
I thought it was poor. I thought it was quite poor, to be honest. He's. I think there was a bit of him coming back, and he wanted to straight away resume the role he had before, which was to be responsible for everything in all phases of play. But technically just wasn't at it. The sharpness wasn't there. Very quickly, I just wanted to go back to a point you mentioned about playing the Ange way constantly. their first goal, obviously, it came from, if you watch it back, Van de Ven has carried the ball around the outside and laid it off to Udogie. So now essentially, Udogie is the second centre back. And he's tried, rather than just playing it to Romero, he's tried a little flick into the middle where Bentancur is. And obviously, it was a poor pass and we got tackled and then they went up the other way. All it takes really, because the Premier League is so cutthroat and Brentford are such a physical side, they're so good out of possession. All it takes really is one error for it's just natural for doubt to set in. And I think just after that one error, things switched a bit. And then obviously the whole dart stuff
Yeah.
and it,
Especially because they were pressing in a man-to-man system and they were pressing very hard and they stuck to it. It wasn't sort of like a if a man goes into that zone, you leave him and for someone else. They were fully tracking everyone. I mean, I think initially their right centre back, I think it was Collins, was marking a doggy. They changed it to Roslev after that, or it was Jensen, sorry. But initially, it was their right centre back marking a doggy, and he would follow him all the way up and into midfield, and the doggy would try and drift to the right to open up some space. And we really struggled with that because our passes we weren't zipping them quick enough, and we couldn't string enough together because they were so tight to us. And I think that's a really good point. Is that when we're
yeah.
under that much pressure, it just takes one.
I think and obviously on Kulusevski and Madison, to be fair to him, poor for Madison's standards, he was still probably our most dangerous player with the positions he's able to receive in and the way he's able to play behind the ball and ahead of the ball and just keep things ticking. He wasn't at it, I thought, for his standards, he wasn't at it. But still he was quite crucial to what we and yeah, I guess yeah, and he did well for our second goal. Or was that our third? The Richarlison one. Although if you actually watch it, he
Hard.
did sort of miss kick it wide
Yeah,
before it luckily
yeah,
deflected into Richarlison as well. But yeah, and Kulusevski, I think, is good as a right wing situationally. Sort of when he comes deep on the right and is able to pick up from deep and carry it forwards. When he's facing teams sitting deep, this way just becomes a bit ineffective. He constantly wants to come inside. Porro wanted to come inside, and there just wasn't that natural dynamism on the flank. So I think that's why Brennan came on at halftime. I think that was a good change, and it definitely did help us out. But yeah, I guess that leads us into the second half. But yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that first, though.
yeah. So it's interesting with Kulusevski because I think when he plays in the middle, he actually drifts out to the right a lot,
Mm, mm,
which is weird because he says he wants to play as that central focal point, but then when he's on the right, he drifts central a lot more. And
mm.
I do think the right probably suits him better, but maybe not for what we need, which is the more direct profile. Andrew, what are your thoughts on Kulusevski and sort of what do you think is it's a big question, but what do you think his best role is going forwards?
Um, Midfield, without question. His ball carrying ability is Spurs are blessed with great ball carriers. Between Bentancur, Bissouma, and now Kulusevski also, he's fantastic in that position. And I think when he's out wide on the right, I feel like he can be very wasteful and hesitant. He has ability. He has the ability to barge inwards, and he has the ability to get in the box and do things. But there's a sense of like it's almost like he's playing in slow motion, which is good. He's very strong, and he has that ability to again barge is kind of the word I like to use whenever I see him run. But it does feel like slow motion. It feels like he just doesn't have the ability to make the plays that he wants to out wide. Now, when he comes more inward, he has he has a different what's the word? There's a different sense about him where he has more freedom. And Travis, you said he goes out wide right when he plays. I think he goes more left when he's in midfield. I feel like I see him when he's in midfield. He's always drifting left, and I feel like he's very effective there too because he is left-footed after
Yeah.
all. So
I see. No, I see what you mean. I think maybe the way I'm thinking of it is he still takes up. Like for instance, I don't have it up on screen now, but a lot of the time when he is playing centrally, or nominally centrally. His heat map is still drifting out to those right hand side areas. So he does go to the left a lot,
I
compared to
think
the right
that's
wing role, I guess. But yeah,
because he's been playing
but
in
I guess that's
Madison's
the best of
absence.
both worlds. You want him on both flanks. Sorry, go ahead,
Exactly, and
Sam.
I
No,
think
no,
that
no, no,
what's up, Sam?
no, no. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that the midfield just empowers him more. To be honest, it just more it just makes he's a better player when he's in midfield, in my opinion. And I think he
I
should
agree.
play there, but there's too much congestion in terms of squad selection, so he has to play out wide right now.
I I think Kulusevski's at his best starting central, but can go out wide. I think for the team dynamics, we always need a width holder, especially when we're trying to break down teams. We need to stretch their backline as much as possible. When Kulusevski's playing out on the right, he starts out wide and wants to come inside. I think it's more beneficial for him and the team if he can start inside and situationally go out on the right, because then we'll always have the width holder on the right, probably Johnson or whoever's playing there on that day. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just when you ask him to just run at his man repeatedly, it's just not his game because he just doesn't have the explosivity, and he's trying to. And I know what you mean with the slow mo thing because he's just trying to like sift his way past players almost,
Mm.
and then most of the time it just ends up getting stuck between his feet or something like that. And I think the best role for him is central, where he can go over to the left as well. I think in Madison's absence he's been playing less centre mid. He's been playing the left side of number 8, which I think he's fine there. He was poor against City, but so was everybody, to be fair. But I think right centre mid, where he played in the second half yesterday, although I can't remember what goal it was. I think it was the second where he was the one who
Was
initially picked
that
up the
flip?
ball, yeah, and then
Yeah.
flicked the down line to Werner, and
Mhm.
that was in sort of a left centre mid position. So, yeah,
Yeah.
but I I don't know if it'll work week in week out, but I would like to see more of Madison Kulusevski in the same midfield,
Yeah.
just because
Definitely. It's just
that's
sorry, go
fun.
on.
No, just because it's so much fun.
Yeah, it is. It's just about who's at the base of that, and I wonder if Højbjerg coming on was to give that bit more of security, and a bit more ball retention in terms of safety. Because I do think he's slightly more. I think the misconception around Højbjerg is that he's a really safe midfielder, and I don't think that's the case necessarily. I think he is quite progressive with his passes, but just in terms of, I do think when the situation calls for it, he's he can be a lot calmer and just naturally more reserved, and especially that first half from Bentancur, who was constantly forcing the passes. But when you think about our midfield options, I mean, we brought Skip off, we brought Bentancur off, we still had Kulusevski, Madison, Højbjerg in midfield. We had Donnelly come off the bench into midfield, who we'll touch on that a bit later, and then we've still got Bissouma and Sarr, and potentially, I think we'll sign another midfielder in the summer because I think Højbjerg might be on his way out and Skip might be on his way out. But um, we've got a lot of options there, and it's very promising. The problem is I still believe we're lacking that proper single pivot, that can carry out that job effectively. But I think we'll see going forwards. We might be tweaking that a bit. I think that's the direction Andrew's going in. I know Kula and Madison sort of, um, contrast that view, but I do think that in the future, with Bentancur and Bissouma and even Sarr, I think we'll shift more towards a double pivot, um, at least in terms of loose positions wise. There'll be more drifting towards the two midfielders being in close proximity to one another rather than one sitting and two eights in front. It will be more two sort of sitting with the right side eight slightly ahead of the nominal number 6, and then Madison much further forward. Um, Andrew, did you have any more thoughts on
Yeah,
that, on
yeah,
the midfield situation?
but like you mentioned the depth that Spurs have in midfield. I think as depth is great, but there's obviously a point where it becomes a lot. And you look at the and I love Kulusevski in midfield. I think it's his best position. But then like I think Alfie Curtis mentioned it in the chat. Sarr is one of the best players in midfield in a fully fit
Yeah.
Spurs midfield in the beginning of the
Mm-hmm.
season. Sarr was holding everything together, and
Mhm.
I feel it just feels wrong to put him on the bench again and be like, wait your
Completely agree.
turn because he has. And I understand rotation's a thing, but even with rotation, when will these players get their chance, and will it be often enough? Because Højbjerg's being a good soldier right now, but if but if you start playing Kulusevski midfield with Madison, because Madison starts every game. Okay, Madison's a given. Fully fit, Madison will always start. The other two issues are now the option, the 8 and the 6. Sar, Bissouma, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Skip, and now there's probably gonna be one more soon. Either today, if that Swedish wonder kid, whatever his name is.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure any updates on that. So
Apparently it's like 50-50. It doesn't really matter,
yeah,
but him or somebody else in the summer. And then Donnelly, you mentioned too. Donnelly's his best position is also midfield now after he had that injury a few years ago. So who plays where? And like you said, and they're
yeah,
missing that pivot too. They're missing that number that
hmm
important player too. So where did these
yeah.
players go? Where do they play? I'm not sure. As much as I love Kuzeski midfield, I'm just not sure if it's
I
long
think
term, if it's
an
sustainable.
issue an issue with it is as well. In my opinion, everyone's best position is as the number eight. Maybe like Madison and Kulusevski are the more advanced ones, but Bissouma will be best as an eight. Bentancur, in my opinion, will be best as an eight. Sarr is exceptional. I absolutely love Sarr. I think what he gives to the team, no one else can offer. His covering of ground is exceptional. His attitude, he's willing to do the dirty work more than anyone else, and I think that's important because he doesn't necessarily always show for the ball. He does when he needs to, but he knows his strengths and he knows his teammates' strengths. So he will hover around the area to cover up the. So say Poro's going forward, he'll hover behind Poro to cover the area behind him to ensure that no one can counter attack. He will sacrifice himself attacking wise to let the other players thrive, and I think that's something that no one else offers because I find a lot of the time Bissouma and Bentancur they want to get involved and they want to change the game. They want to be creative, which is great, but sometimes you might need that role in midfield. Um, I think let's move on to the front three now. As much as I love bigging up Saar, Timo Werner we'll start with. Sam, kick us off.
I wrote him off. I wrote him off. I'll be honest. And I mean, I'm still not convinced we should sign him permanently, but he's done well. He's done well. His off the ball movement. I think his off the ball movement was always a given. I think his how smooth he's looked technically as well has been a bit of a surprise to me. He's he's clearly not great 1v1. He's clearly not that electric 1v1 dribbler that we're missing in the squad. But generally, in terms of receiving the ball, taking it down line, cutting back in, and then there's done that little the assist to Adogi yesterday is almost identical to the assist to Bentancur against Man United, and he's just got those little slid passes, and he takes everything into stride. Whilst I'm surprised at his technical level, and his assist for Brennan was really nice as well. And I just sort of come away from it thinking, I've watched him at Chelsea for 3 years, and I was like laughing at him. So why does he actually look really competent now? But
Different
I
system
guess
though,
understand.
because Tuchel played with a very different style of play, which I think was the
Yeah,
factor
Mm,
he
of
played
why.
he played everywhere under the sun, essentially.
mm, yeah, but yeah, I like him as depth. I like him as depth, but I just don't think we should buy depth. I think we should buy starters, and then the current starters can. I think with Son is a bit of a unique situation. I don't think Son will come back and replace Richarlison. I think Son will keep his place on the left wing, and even though he isn't the perfect profile either for the left wing, you cannot simply bench a player who is 15 goals a season in the league. So, in terms of the front three going forward, I think Son, Richarlison, and then Brennan or Kulusevski, and then a young guy who will eventually succeed Son. I worry if we buy Werner, then are we blocking the path of Antonio Nusa or someone like that? Because that seems to be the strategy. Young, exciting talents because Son will be around for a good few more years, I think. But we do have to. I understand why the club are succession planning now almost. Um, but yeah, that's my worry if we buy Werner. But he has done well, so fair play to him.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're clearly looking towards the future with the Nusa links and things like that, and we might talk about that a bit more later. Um, but yeah, I agree with you. I think Werner was he was really good yesterday. There are a few times that caught my eye, especially where that sort of slowed things down and then burst into speed. And he did that a few times for the two goals, especially the second one, where he got the ball in transition, he carried it forward, and the defender knows he can't handle his pace, and he slows down as he gets towards the box. And I thought it's going to be a Timo Werner moment that we've seen so often, where he just stops and cuts back, and he slowed it down, and the defender slowed with him, and then he just burst past him, and he knocked it round him, and he put the ball in for Johnson, which I thought was really really good. And as you said, those little slip passes he's shown on multiple occasions, and I didn't know he had that in him. And I do wonder if it could be replicated on the right hand side. Just for when Son does come back, I do think that he can have that same sort of like body shape where he just does that on the right and cuts it across goal with his right foot rather than his left foot, because he's not particularly adept at cutting inside and shooting either. So it doesn't exactly eliminate that avenue. Andrew, what did you think of, firstly, your thoughts on his performance, and then I'll take you on to Richarlison after that because I know you want to talk about that a lot.
Um, Werner's cool. I love Werner. I have a thing for players who just are misfits. I don't know why. Scared Højbjerg, Werner is the thing. I like redemption stories. So it's nice to see him doing good again.
Ex Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean,
That's always the goal.
he because at Chelsea he was not good enough. I think that's evident. But again, I blame it on the system and the confidence and Chelsea's supporters being things. And and I
Keep it PG.
yeah. But it's good. I'm happy to see. I think he fits this. I think he fits well. I mean, I think a 1v1 winger is preferred, a Nusa type, but he's the pace when you have players like Madison and who can like thread balls behind the back lines of opposition. Werner, I think on multiple occasions, even yesterday, was clearly he had the ability to affect the game. Now his first half, like everybody else on the pitch, was pretty rough, and he definitely put weird balls in weird places. Which is a very weird sentence to say, but like he was throwing crosses in that just were going nowhere near any Spurs players, and whether that was because they weren't in position or if the passes were bad, it probably mix of both. But yeah, but I think the second half showed why Spurs need Werner, and unlike Sam, I think he's great depth. He fits that system. He's not.
I'd agree with you. I'd agree with you.
Does he have a permanent place when Son comes back from the Asian Cup? Probably not. I think Richie has more than earned his place as a striker for right now, and Sonny has been kind of grandfathered into the starting 11. But it's he's great depth, and I think he's an upgrade on Hill, who I'm not sure was even on the bench yesterday. I completely forgot about him existing. No. And
he's off back. He's going to Brighton or something.
Maybe.
Only that's not happening now.
Yeah, and that's probably not going to happen. It's not enough time. But yeah. But Werner was great, and you mentioned also Richie, my boy. Let me just get the pigeon picture up real quick. You guys can't see it, but the audience can. And Richarlison is the greatest player in Tottenham. No, I'm kidding. He was fantastic. I think since he got that pubic bone surgery, I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you what happened, but he physically he's always been a monster. But I think now he's had the ability to actually implement that. His hold up play, everything, his presence in the box. You feel him more. You feel him more. He has more confidence. What is it? 8 goals in 8 games, or is it 7 goals in 7 games?
It was 6 and 6, so I think it's now 7 and 8 or something like that.
Like that's fantastic. That's great. I mean,
and there's assists in there as well.
It's not Kane numbers, but it's you can ask for more from a normal striker. Then obviously there's conversation about his future. and whether or not he'll be at Spurs in the long term. I think he's proving his place. I really think he is. Is he the player to take Spurs to the next level? That's to be seen. I think he. I don't think you can say that yet, but I think for this season, and maybe for seasons beyond, he's earned his place in the squad, and I think he's more than effective for right now. And we always knew he'd be good in the system, so it's good to actually see that come to fruition. You know.
Yeah.
So, I'm proud of Richie.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something with Werner and Richarlison is it's about knowing their roles within the squad. If we know that they're maybe not the ones to lead us to, let's say, glory or whenever we want to get there, that's important. But I think they're really valuable for what we need right now. Those players that can do the intangibles, that can run in behind, that can occupy defenders, that can be a nuisance, that will press well, that we can trust. And we've got a video coming out hopefully soon on sort of what Ange looks for and how he looks for the intangibles, the physical profiles, more than the technical ability right now. And I won't go too much into it because that's what the video's for. But I think Werner and Richarlison typify that. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Sam, because I'm talking about his out of possession play. But I actually thought what was brilliant yesterday was something we haven't actually seen from him since we signed him, apart from since he's come back from surgery. And that's sort of the freedom he's playing with on the ball and the way he's willing to receive the ball with his back to goal and hold up play. And I think what's always been lacking with Richarlison, in my view, is his ability to link play. And more so, I think he can hold up play and he always has been able to do that, but more so his link passes and his passing in transition and his accuracy. And I think since he's come back, that's grown game on game on game, and he's really excelled in that facet of his game and moving us forward in transition and helping us be and being an outlet for us. So I want to get your thoughts on that specifically.
Um, yeah, I think Richarlison, maybe not when he first came in, because he did have I remember, if I remember correctly, he had a good few promising games where he was playing off the left under Conte. But then as it went on, especially when he played up front, it felt as if every time the ball came to him, he was having to do so much to hold the player off, and then the ball would end up just bouncing off his knee or his shin or something. And in fairness, my standards are high because I watched Harry Kane for however many years, but he's not pure class like that in terms of the way how it's so easy for him to drop in and turn and switch play. But he's combining really good hold up. He backs into players really well, and he has a good leap as well, so he can win balls in the air, as well as just be able to take things in his stride and protect him, get his body over the ball, and then turn out. There's a couple of moments where I still want him. I feel as if he could move things a bit quicker, but generally, I think Richarlison has now proved himself to be good at holding the ball up and at least probably above average at linking play, as well as obviously doing the things he does in the box, which he does well right now, one of the best in the league. That's not a opinion, that's a fact. So yeah. 7 goals in 7 games or whatever. So yeah. Yeah. I'm a fan of Richie and I've always backed him to be honest. So yeah, I'm happy to see him doing well.
Yeah, me too. I think we all are. There's a certain love that he's attracted from the fan base and pigeons around the world that I just don't think can be replicated. It's difficult to replicate. Um, I'd like to, unless you guys have any more thoughts on the game, I'd like to bring one more player up that I think went very unnoticed yesterday, or at least from what I've seen. Romero, I thought was exceptional. I thought, especially in the last 20 to 30 minutes, he did get a bit carried away with Mope at times, and he did get a bit frustrated. But I thought he was absolutely brilliant. There were countless headed clearances. There was one cross towards the end of the game, came in across the front post, and it was going across goal. And he sort of did a diving header to get it away. There was another one coming towards the back post, and there was someone behind him, and he was backtracking, and he still managed to flick a header on behind him. And I just thought he really led that back line yesterday, and I think it's becoming more and more prominent how pivotal he is to the side and how much of a leader he is. Andrew, what do you love about Romero, as we all do?
Well, before that, some breaking news: Hill is not leaving, according to Fabrizio. So Hill's staying for the season.
Okay, we'll definitely get into that
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the end.
But I thought we were
Because
talking about it before a minute ago.
no,
Romero,
that's good. That's good.
And that was great. That was fantastic. Well, I think he's proven why he's such an important player in the squad. When he's composed and when can maintain his temper, he can easily change games. And I think he's part of the reason why Spurs were able to have that composure in the second half that kind of spurred on the comeback. And I think that's fantastic. I mean, he's so important to the squad, and I think he proved that more than enough yesterday. Like somebody just said in the chat, they'd go to war for Romero, and I agree. I agree. He's that personality. He has that ability, and I think even behind the scenes, with so many Spanish speaking players in the squad, having a player like Romero be able to be that glue between them, just it probably means more on the pitch than we can even think of. Ange making him vice captain is a masterclass that I think only he'll understand and the squad will understand. But it was fantastic from Romero, and I think that for all the times where he can let us down a little bit, I think he's proving why he's him, why he's in that starting 11 every single game he can. So really really proud of him too.
Yeah, it's a bit paradoxical, sort of the way Romero plays, because he he's so composed in possession, and he brings us that composure, as you say. And then out of possession, it's the complete opposite of that, and that is a good thing. That's what we want out of possession. We want that aggression, but it's like Jekyll and Hyde. It's two different people. He is so aggressive out of possession, and then as soon as he gets the ball, he's so composed. He's able to draw in that press so well, and then play that line breaking pass. Sam, did you have something to say on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have enough words to praise Romero. I think he's exceptional. I think he's one of the best in the world. Um, I was just about to mention, if you hadn't mentioned, I was going to mention it, how composing he is out of possession, how, sorry, contrasting he is out of possession versus in possession. He's, I think it's perfect, to be honest. I really like the balance. Obviously, he does take it too far sometimes, but I think when you see the way he defends his box, particularly the way he duels and the way he defends his box, the way he throws his head at everything, he's just the complete, fearless, committed centre back, which you need. I think I have a lot of respect for guys like Van Dijk, but in terms of pure defending, I love the way Romero goes about it. I just love it. The way he's just scared of nothing, honestly. He's just scared of nothing. And he always pulls up with little like niggles and stuff. I'm not surprised because even when he's not dueling with someone, he's throwing his body about to reach things in the air. He's climbing all over people to beat Tony to the ball in the air. And then obviously when he receives the ball from Vicario to on a goal kick, it's like he's got the world at his feet. It's like yeah, it's fine, and he never messes up. It's yeah. I think he's one of the absolute best the way he does, and I think we are so lucky because I get it. Like the red card thing, I don't know if that will ever go away. I think he will. I think we'll see it less often as time goes on. I don't think it'll ever completely go away, but I'm fine with that. Honestly, if it's one red card a season, but every other game he's brilliant because you mentioned as a special point how good Romero was yesterday. I thought that was just normal Romero, and it's like he plays like
Well,
this
it was.
every week.
It was.
He plays like this every week, so I don't mind one red card a season, zero if possible, but I'm okay with it if all the other 35 Premier League performances are as good as this, which they usually are. So yeah, yeah, that's all I have to say on Romero. He's just unbelievable.
And I think I think Romero enables. I think there's a few players you can point at as being pinpoints in guaranteeing that Spurs play the way Andrew wants to. I think Romero. I think Van de Ven is one of them. He has
Hmm.
pace and such, and I think players like Madison and whatever. But Romero, he enables the the, the coolness of the entire team. Romero has really great. Van de Ven has a great pass success rate. That's because he takes safe passes, which isn't a bad thing. Romero takes like, crazy passes, and they're usually successful. But Romero knows where they bring the ball, and I think Romero is also a big reason why Porro has been so fantastic this season. Because I think Porro last season we saw somebody who's not as good defensively. I think we all knew that. And while Porro has improved this season defensively, I think Romero gives him that security that whenever Porro has to come back and defend, Romero's always right behind him. He's always there. And whenever Spurs concede from that right side, it's always because he's not there. so I think Romero enables a lot of this. Romero is like the key to Ange ball, and I think without him, it'd be rough.
I think for Porro, it's like the psychological boost of if for any fullback in the world, you face up Jeremy Doku on the thing, you'd usually be scared. It's probably just the idea, just knowing that behind you have Christian Romero is like we're actually in safe hands because
Yeah.
just the way because he's so good, but not just the way he goes about his business as well, by being so relaxed in possession and then just terrifying attackers. I mean, every player says that they don't like coming up against Romero in training, and it must be the same for opposition attackers. He mortifies attackers, and then he's just so relaxed and so reliable in possession. He must bring such confidence to your teammates. It's just when you have that good guy on the team, when he's not there,
Yeah.
you're scared, and then when you're at Sunday League or something like that, and he's there, and you're like, oh, okay, we're winning this week. It's one of those. Yeah, I think he's yeah.
I was not that guy. I was the opposite of that guy.
Same.
I was the oh no, we've got him in our team. But I actually think that's a really good point because it's also similar with Vicario, and that's probably why Van der Ven and Romero have been so good, and they've been able to keep that high line um, so adamantly and so confidently because they know that firstly, if someone gets in behind, Vicario is exceptional at 1v1 shot stopping, but also he's there as a sweeper. So they can stay so high because he's always there, like right on the edge of the box, ready to come out. And it's a knock-on effect of confidence because that gives Romero and Van de Ven the confidence, which then gives the doggy and Porro the confidence, which then gives the wingers the confidence, and so on and so on and so on. And that's something we haven't had in years, especially it really shows the point that the foundations start with the backline and the defence, not just in keeping goals out, but allowing the team to be free and express themselves and go forwards, especially in Ange's system where you need that bravery. Contrast that to Lloris and Dyer last year. Every single action that every player takes, they've got that in the back of their mind that Lloris and Dyer are behind them. So we don't want to lose possession here because otherwise we could get really caught out. But this time we can take those risks. We can play those direct passes. We can be aggressive in our actions. We can be ambitious because we know if we lose possession, we've got Romero and Van der Ven there to sweep up and recycle possession. And that's something that's just invaluable. I think that's probably good for the Brentford game, even though it was more of just a player analysis and expressing our love for multiple players in the squad, which I'd always happily do. Let's move on to a bit of a transfer roundup. We've touched a lot on Werner today and Dragusin. I don't think we've touched a lot on the channel. So if you want to look at our threads on Twitter or X or our TikTok on Dragusin as well, be sure to check that out to find out more about him because he's not really had much of an impact at this point yet. So nothing has changed from the analysis we've done in those pieces. Um, Andrew, I'm going to start with you on the potential loanees. Um, I'm going to say the periphery players. So Gil, Valise, Hoiberg, maybe a bit. We've already touched on him. and I know you love Højbjerg, but what are your thoughts on their loan moves away or lack of loan moves away in
Yeah,
Kill's case?
yeah. I think I think the only one move that's gonna happen today, before midnight for you guys, is
Say that.
is going to be, huh?
Who's? I thought you said
No,
someone's
no, no,
gone
no,
or
no,
something.
no, no, no. No, I think the only one move that's gonna happen is gonna be
Okay.
Veliz to Sevilla. That's the only one that's gonna happen. Even that's even subject to issue if he doesn't pass his medical because he just came back from injury. So I think we'll see Veliz out the door, which I think is a great move for him. I think the Spanish league will suit his style of play, and I think Sevilla, while they are a struggling team, they are a team that can definitely use his help up front, and I think they're a team that plays to his strengths. So I think that's a fantastic move for him, and I think Spurs have been guaranteed play time for him too. So it's not like he's going to go and rot on the bench. I think he's going to get minutes, whether it be starting or coming off consistently, the bench. So that's gonna be great for him. Then there's the issues of players who didn't get loaned out. I think Højbjerg not leaving is fine. I don't think that's a big concern. If we're not going to sign anybody else, then there's no point in sending him out. He's obviously important. So I never thought he would leave anyway, because I mean he's what did he start? No, he didn't start against City, did he? He did, right? Højbjerg started against
Højbjerg.
City. Yeah. So
No.
if he
Did
didn't,
he?
I think
Oh no, he did. He did.
he
Sorry,
did. He
sorry,
did.
he did.
He did.
No,
Yeah.
come on.
That was
Okay.
the
No, sorry.
first
Sorry.
City game he came on.
Yeah. So
Right.
he started against City last week. And although that game was a bit of a mess, he clearly he's too important for Postecoglou just to get rid of now. So he's staying. And Hill is a player who I'm not a big fan of. At least at Spurs, I think elsewhere he'd be fine. But he doesn't have what it takes in the Premier League. He's too weak. He's too lanky. He has 1v1 ability, but it's not good enough. I don't think he's ever had a really good moment. He hasn't scored a goal either yet, ever. I think he's been here for what, 2 seasons? Two full
Ever
seasons?
for us, you mean?
Yeah, he's
Or
never
in
scored a goal
general?
for Spurs. Never scored a goal for Spurs.
Oh, for Spurs, yeah.
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 And I
Is he
think
not?
no, never scored a goal
Not
for
even
Spurs.
in like Conference League or something.
No. And I think he
Says it
probably
all.
has a few assists, but besides that, he needs to leave, and whether that be a loan or whatever. But he's not going anywhere. And I think with Werner and then Son coming back, Gil won't get a chance. And I think Postecoglou will rather play the likes of Scarlett and Donnelly over him. So we'll see. But I think Gil's time at Spurs is up in the summer. But besides that, no more other players. I think I'm happy with the Plymouth moves for Phillips and Devine. I think that's fantastic for them. I think Phillips has already been like brilliant over there. Sam, you probably know more about that than I do. But yeah, I think it's been a good window. I think it really has been a great window. And maybe a midfield signing would be the cherry on top, but there's still time technically. But I think otherwise, it's like a 7, 8 out of 10.
Yeah. For those that don't know, Sam is I'd say our youth expert on Lily White Lab, or a designated youth writer. So his thoughts will be very valuable on a lot what has been a very busy window youth squad wise, and even the likes of Tanganga or something like that. On us, I think what we've strengthened that so well is bringing these players back and sending them on the right pathway when it's not working, which is really vital for their development. Sam, I'd say if you give like a brief breakdown of what you think about Donnelly, Scarlett, Phillips, Divine as well. Just go. What are your opinions on that?
Yeah, well, sort of tied in with Valise. I think one of Valise or Scarlett had to go out. I think. I'm not sure Scarlett could go out again.
He couldn't. He
Right.
couldn't.
So I think I'm happy that Valise is going away. Devine switching play constantly. He was doing well there, but I think it was clear, even though he wasn't setting the world alight, it was clear that he was capable of moving up a level. So I think when the opportunity came up, it was Ian Foster who's managed him, and Ian Foster was his manager for the England under-19s when they won the European Championship, and I believe he was the second youngest in the squad after I could be wrong, but he was one of the youngest in the squad. After Bino Gittins was another one who I think is slightly younger, but he was playing ahead of players. But he was the youngest starter by far. Um, Ian Foster placed a lot of faith in him, so I think the opportunity to go there, and I watched him. I watched him in his first game, and he's playing sort of a left-sided number 10 now, so sort of back to what he's used to. So I think this should be a
They
good
play a
move for him.
3-4-2-1, don't they?
Yeah. So
So he's sort of
one behind the striker alongside Morgan Whittaker, who
okay.
it's got a lot of hype. And Phillips has done well there as well. He still can improve with the ball. I think he's a good passer, but it's sort of under pressure. It's like Van der Ven is not the most expansive passer, but the way he can swivel out of pressure because he's got these I don't know how he does it, but Phillips is not quite that, but he's a good passer. But there's some things he can improve on, and just generally the intensity of the championship. It's just incomparable to under 21s because I'll be honest, it's a bit of a joke league to be honest, but the intensity and the pressure of playing in the championship will do them wonders. Donley, I think, got an injury, so yeah, and there's an opportunity for him to break into the first team squad. So I'm not mad at him not going out on loan, but I would like to see a couple more. I think, in particular, Judson Supbell shouldn't stay around this window, and Iago Santiago. I'm hoping one or two, either one, or if not both, will go out because I think that will also open up a pathway for guys like Mikey Moore, who is obviously really well hyped to step up to the under-21s, and I think they're ready. So yeah, but overall, quite a good window in terms of youth movement. And I'm happy overall. Just like to see a couple more, maybe, if I'm being greedy. Yeah.
It sucks that Dorrington just got an injury. I feel like he would be great to go out.
6 to 8 weeks, I think.
That's the thing I tweeted earlier. The thing is when without Phillips and Dorrington, the under-21s now have no natural centre backs in the squad.
Really?
So,
is there?
Yeah.
What about under 18s? Is there any that can come up?
Yeah, there are, but it's just whether they're ready to step. I think there's one that's maybe ready to step up. His name is Archie Chaplin, but it's not like he shouldn't go straight in, but he should start to see some minutes now, especially with Dorrington's injury. They do have sort of defensive fullbacks kind of. They have players that can play there, but Dorrington was the only proper natural centre back I think left in the squad. So yeah, but if you look at the under 18s, I think this year's academy intake, about 6 of 9 of them were defenders or something, and obviously Vuskovic, and they've just signed Phillips. It's like they're clearly trying to bolster up in that regard. So yeah,
and Vuskovic went on loan too to a team in Poland.
Yeah. It's got about that. That'll be. I think that's similar sort of thoughts there. Really valuable game time for him. I don't know what the Polish league is like, but just to get any sort of game time in men's football is really important.
It's
especially
just men's
for
football, isn't it? It's just
exactly.
I'm not sure what the level is. Probably not very good, but it's just ultimately he's a kid playing men's football, and that's the best thing for him. So
as a defender and a centre back, especially, you want them to get used to that physicality more than anything. But I'd say that was a really good youth roundup. Some really interesting insight there. Let's we'll leave we were going to do a bit of an Everton preview, but we'll leave that for. There's a thread coming out tomorrow. I think Sean's writing a thread on the Everton preview, so that'll be out tomorrow. So be sure to look out for that on Lily White Lab Twitter. So Andrew, any questions? From the wonderful audience? Go on, I'll let you do the roundup of that.
All right, so we actually have a lot of questions from Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, man.
Okay.
Which is actually nice. I put out a tweet asking for questions. We got a good amount of them. One of them is when will Reed Simpson be back on the show? So Reed, that one's for you. Okay, the other
never.
One. So never, yeah, no. I would love Reed to be on the show, but he was busy today. A few of them, we've touched on a few of these, but a lot of them have to do with Bentancur. And somebody said, which is a tweet, which is actually kind of interesting. His name is Melman on Twitter. He said that we dropped Bentancur at halftime, having swooned over the prospect of him playing with Madison, but it didn't seem to work. Thoughts. That's all it says. So quickly, will it work? Will it ever work, or is it just a pipe dream?
I think it will work with Sarr. I think it will work with Sarr or Basuma. I think it was just Ange wanted to move Kulusevski inside and bring Brennan Johnson on, and I think that he didn't trust Bentancur as the holding midfielder in that role. I think that's what it was. I think with Sarr or Basuma, it will work absolutely perfectly with Maddison and Bentancur. I really don't think that's too ambitious. I think even Højbjerg and Bentancur is perfectly fine. I think the Bentancur, Kulusevski, Maddison trio is probably a bit far fetched, but I really think that their profiles complement each other really well. You know, Maddison likes to drop deep and he can link up with Bentancur in that area. We've seen Bentancur drift forward at times and get in and around the box and explore his creative abilities a bit more. And I think their short passing and intricate link up play is really good, and it bounces off each other quite well. So if you've got the more physical profile in Saar behind that as well, that really supplements that nicely. And Basuma as well. The attributes go hand in hand. His short link up play, his nice clever passes. I think they all sort of Bentancur and Maddison especially can gravitate towards each other because Maddison sort of gravitates towards the build up zone of the six anyway, and the same goes for um, Bissouma. Well, sorry, I think the same will go for Bissouma when they play together. I think they'll all sort of come in close proximity to each other, drag in the opposition midfielders and drag in the press, and then quickly evade them. I think that will be a big source of our progression. Andrew, what were you saying on that?
Yeah, and I kind of just want to ask Sam this because I'm curious. So Bentancur, a great player, probably also in the best midfield we can make. And I think Travis mentioned Sarr, Bentancur, Bissouma. Who's playing six and who's playing eight?
Um, uh, yeah, I have some interesting thoughts on that, to be fair. I don't know. I've always quite liked the idea of Sarr as the six, but again, it's one of those. It's like I don't mind Bentancur as the six either, but I think we get more out of him in the eight. Um, I think our best midfield is Sarr, Bentancur, Maddison. Um, and I don't think it matters too much. I think Bentancur will be the six on paper at least, and at least starting off. But there are so many rotations within our midfield constantly going on, and Maddison receives off the centre backs half the time as well. Anyway, so I don't think it matters too much. But I think in terms of balance, I think there's enough ground coverage there. I think there's enough creativity there. I think there's enough of the neat interplay sort of in tight spaces there, and I'm looking forward to seeing that midfield. I think Basuma would work as well. I think Travis made the point of how they'd all come really close in midfield, and then we could evade position block that way. Basuma would probably aid that a bit more, but I think you'd lose the defensive ability of Sarr, which I think I'd value a little bit more than Basuma. I'd value Basuma more if we didn't have Bentancur, who was nearly as good as Basuma. The little things like receiving in between the lines, under pressure, and turning out of pressure and whatnot. But yeah. So I'm not too fussed about specific positions really, because it's also fluid anyway. But yeah, Bentancur, Sarr, Maddison is what I want to see.
That's what I was going to say quickly. I don't want to get too philosophical with it, but there's like this idea between positionalism and relationism. And relationism is essentially Fernando Diniz at Brazil is the like prime example where there's no set formation in possession. Players just go and do what they want and they move freely and they take up positions they want. And a lot of the time they all get dragged towards the ball and they link up with each other and overload one area. And the opposite would be the extreme would be Pep Guardiola, who has his players in set positions in each area of the pitch, taking up specific positions on the field. There's more specific positional play principles there, which I won't get into. But Ange is sort of the perfect mix in that, in my opinion, in that he has those set positions that he wants structurally, but players have the freedom to just sort of do what they want and move around within that, as long as there's different players taking up certain areas. And I think that's crucial with midfield because I don't think there will be a 6 and an 8. And I think we've seen that as it is because we talk about Maddison as an 8 and as a 10, and he's not really any of those. Like he's dropping deep into build up, which a traditional 10 wouldn't do. And then we see Bentancur popping up in forward areas, and we see the fullbacks popping up in forward areas. So I think it will all be very fluid and rotational, as Sam said, and that suits everyone's profiles brilliantly.
I never thought I'd hear the names Deniz and Guardiola in the same sentence, but I guess we're here, so. Anyway, all right. Another question that I saw, which is kind of interesting, from Wary Kane on Twitter, is: are Werner and Van de Ven playing too far away from Udogi when the ball is in the middle of the pitch, or is this verticality? Is that even a word? Verticality necessary for the system, and it's on the mids to provide support. Does that make any sense to you guys?
Yeah, I think I sort of get what he means.
Werner and Van de Ven
And like playing too far away
well.
from Udogi. There you go. That's the question.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree. Go on, Sam. You go first.
Yeah, Udogi and Werner played often in close proximity, I think. Van de Ven typically will be quite far away, but he can't come too high up to support without leaving a gaping hole in the middle. So I think it's more on the centre mid dropping to support, or Werner, if he wants to turn back, has to play it long all the way back to Van de Ven. Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't know. Maybe there's probably. I'm going to keep an eye out for it now, but yeah, it's not something I've noticed.
Me too, but I think they've both got the physical attributes to be able to recover for themselves, which is the key point. I think on the right-hand side, we've got sort of a closer link. I think Romero's a bit closer to Porro because Porro doesn't get forward as much. He sort of hangs back. And Sars, when he plays there, is a bit more defensive, whereas Maddison's obviously the attacking one. And I think that we're just more reliant on their physical abilities, which I think they have an abundance to be able to sort of recover for themselves in those situations where there's a bit too much space.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
we may have misunderstood the question.
They play very close, so I guess
keep an eye on.
I think the question is just that are they playing too far up together? So then when somebody gets in behind, like Travis said, the recovery. But we mentioned that a lot in our what was it, 2 videos ago about how Ange can revolutionize defense on YouTube. Check it out because Kish talks about that.
Right, fantastic video.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, for questions, let's see. Anything else?
So let's do. If we've got one more, that'd be.
Score predictions for Everton, really quick.
Okay.
Let's just do that.
2-0.
Who?
2-0 Spurs. Spurs. Come on. I'm not predicting against us. Never.
Travis?
2-1. They'll probably score a set piece.
Okay.
Just keep an eye out for that. I'd say I'll know a lot more once I read Sean's thread tomorrow.
There you go. It's probably gonna be 2-1. Is Calvert-Lewin playing? Is Calvert-Lewin fit?
Yeah, I think so. Calvert-Lewin or Beto.
It'll be a McNeil cross and a Calvert-Lewin header in like the 76th minute.
I was wondering if that's going to be a bit of a fiery fixture because I was looking at Mope. You know Mope on Instagram, and he said that thing about James Maddison on Instagram.
Who doesn't know?
I was looking in his comments. There was quite a few Everton players backing it because there was these
and Richarlison as well.
Yeah, true. So
backing him?
No, Richarlison was on Madison's side, but
okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Andre Gomez, that whole thing.
Andre Gomez can't talk, man. he can't talk. Andre Gomez can't talk. He's played like 5 minutes in the last 3 years. But
he broke his leg.
Yeah, well, that was an interesting time to be alive.
That is a fantastic way to end it on Andre Gomez. Guys, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you so much for everyone that listened. Be sure to check us out on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. We've got a YouTube video coming out hopefully soon. about what Ange looks for in a signing. We've got some TikToks coming out about Richarlison's resurgence. We've got two coming out soon about Spurs' stats this season and sort of what that tells us about how the season's gone and how it compares to our competitors, which is a really interesting video. We've got some great threads coming out. I believe we might have a guest thread next week, if I'm correct.
Knock on wood.
Sorry?
No, yeah. Hopefully we do. Yes, that'd be great.
Yeah. We'll see. Hopefully, and we've obviously got the regular match previews coming out, and just general tweets about Spurs in general. So yeah. Anything else to plug, guys?
Watch the videos. We're almost at 40k in the last video. Watch it. It's have Spurs found the next Harry Kane? That's the clickbait title. But it's ranking all the youth academy players at Spurs, and I think Sam might appreciate that. Have you watched that one, Sam?
Yeah, I have. This was asking about.
Hopefully you agree.
Well, you can go straight from this video straight to that video. So it's a perfect place to go right now. Thank you very much, guys, and see you in the next one.
Cheers, guys.